Welcome to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we explore unexplained and mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Today we are talking with Debe Branning, director of MVD Ghost Chasers, a Mesa, Bisbee, Arizona-based paranormal team since 1994. The team conducts its investigations of haunted and historical locations throughout the state of Arizona and has offered paranormal workshops and investigations since 2002. Debbie's been a guest lecturer and speaker at several Arizona universities and community colleges, science fiction and paranormal conferences, historical societies, and libraries. And we had the pleasure of meeting her recently at the Arizona Paranormal Investigators meet and greet. Arizona's very own Debe Branning. Debbie, welcome to the show. For everybody else, strap in as we examine the edges of the unknown. Debbie, it is a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
I know. Is it storming where you're at then?
Yeah.
And your part of town?
So it is getting really close. I'm in Mesa. Kyle is in Glendale.
Okay, I'm in Mesa, but I can hear the wind blowing a little bit.
Yeah, I had to take down the patio wind chime that we have because it was just making way too much noise. Yeah, we're supposed to be getting rain here in about the next hour. At any rate, we had so much fun meeting you at the meet and greet the other night.
That was kind of a fun event. I was surprised there was so many people there. It was nice to see a lot of old friends and meet new ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to know you a little bit, but we wanted to have you on the show and really get to know you a lot more. Are you an Arizona native, first of all?
I'm originally from Nebraska. I've been down here since about 1978. So I'm pretty much a native now.
Yeah. You're pretty much wherever you went to high school, right? That's where you're from?
Yeah. I went to high school in Nebraska and moved down here. Oh, gosh. Like I said, in 78 and worked for the motor vehicle department for 25 years and retired and started getting my books done.
That's great. So is that where you got the name MVD?
That's where MVD is. I worked for the MVD all that time doing your license, driver's license and license plates, all that fun stuff.
That's excellent. Okay.
And the group was actually co-workers in the beginning, and it was just kind of a way to get away from all the stress of, working at the office. And we started going down to Douglas, Arizona to the Gadsden Hotel. And then we'd come back and tell ghost stories and things that happened. So the next time someone else wanted to go, sometimes we'd have like 8 cars go driving down there. It was a lot of fun.
So
back in the early days.
You came up with, or was it something that was already happening and you kind of took the driver's seat, so to speak? Yeah.
I've always been interested in ghostly spirits and everything like that. And we learned that the Gadsden might be haunted, and sure enough, things were happening left and right, and just enticed just to go on to other places. But that's where we started going. We'd go down there for the weekends, and then we started, let's try this place. Let's go to Ruby. Let's go over to Tombstones. Well, that's how we kind of got things rolling. That was back in 1993, 1994. So we've been around a long time.
Was there a certain incident that happened that got you triggered into looking into the paranormal, or was it
when I was younger, my grandmother started coming to me and talking to me, and I know, I can see and hear ghosts, so let's just go for it. And it's just always been interesting. I like to take and go back and look at the history and then kind of compare it to what's going on, because I always say history and mystery go hand in hand.
Yeah, so that's a great thing. I like that.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. If I like to, look up the names we're getting when we're doing in investigations and see if it coincides with everything, or anything at all. So that's been kind of our way of doing it. We just kind of go with history and compare it to what's happening in the haunt, and there you be.
Now, you said that you noticed from a young age that you could see ghosts.
Well, I could hear them more than see them. I'm not one of these, I have friends that can like look across the room and like, oh, there's a man standing over there. He's got on a black hat and he's, has a mustache. I can hear more than see. So I can hear the voices more than I can see them. I have seen probably in all the years we've been doing this, probably 6 ghosts.
Okay.
Just right up front. But
That's
I can hear voices. I have a house down in Bisbee, and we were just down there, gosh, probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, because we were doing an event down there, and all of us girls stayed at my house. And there's a little girl in there, and she started talking to us because we, sat down with her with the recorders, and she was like, we were talking about cats because there's a ghost cat in my house too. And we're going, cats are handy because they take care of the mice. And she was whispering, going, mouse, mouse. So, we can communicate with this little girl. So it's kind of cool because it's a nice conversation going, with a real spirit. So we were talking to her about that, and she came on and off on our, during our chats, because we just put a recorder out and sit and talk. That's what we do. And then we get a lot of activity that way.
You're the life of the party. So all of the spirits.
She was a little life of the party. And that's the thing of it is, my daughter and her boyfriend were down there over 4th of July, and they were seeing all kinds of things going on that weekend. There were things moving. There were lights coming on. A rocking chair was rocking. They were all in the kitchen cleaning up, and they saw the spirit come out of one room down the hallway into the dining room. So it was really active the weekend they were there. That's why we thought, let's go see what we get. All we got was the little girl chatting with us. But it's definitely the little girl's probably the most active spirit there.
Okay, so let's kind of go back in time a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you sent over some images. So this is the MVD Ghost Chasers logo here.
That's our logo. As cheesy as it is, we've kept that all these years because it's a car, and it stood for what we did at the auto license. So,
tell me about some highlights from the MVD Ghost Chasers.
Tell me about some highlights?
Yeah, what are some of the highlights that you've had over the years with the MVD Ghost Chasers?
Well, I think it was a funny thing that happened is once we had Telemundo. Remember Telemundo, the show? Oh, yeah. They had a ghost show going on, and they came up to Arizona because they wanted to film some ghosts here. We actually did some down at the Gadsden Hotel, and they actually came up to Tempe to Casey Moore's, and I wanted to film us there. So they knew I had a hearse. So they wanted us to drive around the building and pull up in front of the Casey Moore's in the hearse. So we thought, okay, we can do this. So as we're driving around the building, we almost got hit by the train, and then we came back around down whatever that street is. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. And as we pulled up right in front of Casey Moore's, the hearse started overheating. We had this really good smoky effect going on. They thought it was really cool, but we're like, okay, the car's overheating. This is not good. So that was kind of a fun thing that happened with us. But we used to have a lot of activity down at the Gadsden. And I think one of the most, one we can remember is we were trying to communicate with Pancho Villa.
Oh, yeah.
And we got on the Ouija board one night, and we had Pancho Villa on the board. He was talking to us, and one of the guys in the group was asking, what was, Pancho Villa's, legitimate wife's name, and it spelled out Maria. And he goes, well, that's a common name, that. And he goes, and you girls are probably moving this because I had a sister and she used to move it around. And we're like, no, we're not. And so then we said, okay, what can we ask it? He says, I'm going to ask it, and I'm going to ask it in Spanish, and I'm going to ask what his favorite horse's name is, because all cowboys had a horse, and they always named their horse. So we go, okay, go for it. And he asked Pancho Villa in Spanish, then what was your favorite horse's name? And it just came back and spelled out SHT. So, we thought, horseshit. And I went like, and he's like, and then the board kind of went dead. So he goes, you know what? I think you girls are just crazy. So we went back to work the following Monday, told our supervisor, because, they always like to hear the ghost stories when we come back. And he goes, he told us what happened. And she said, well, I'm going to ask my friend, because he's a professor of Mexican and Spanish heritage in San Francisco. He'll know what Pancho Villa's horse's name was. And we knew Pancho Villa liked to play word games. So that was another thing, I thought he's playing some kind of word game when we're not getting it. So the next day we come back to work and he calls us all in the office and we thought, okay, we're in trouble. He goes, okay, you guys, I guess I just want to let you know, you actually we're talking to Pancho Villa that other night. And we're like, what? And he goes, yeah. My friend asked, we asked him what SHT meant and what, Pancho Villa's horse, his name was. And it came back. He says his horse's name was 7 Leagues. And then when in Spanish, 7 is Sahete, SHT. So he was playing a weird game with us. So that's the night I know we actually were having a conversation with Pancho Villa on the Ouija board.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Wow.
That was very cool. After that, he was, our friend was a believer after that night because he was really talking to him.
That's amazing. Okay. So are you still with MVD Ghost Chasers? Is that still an active group?
It's still an active group. A lot of the people from MVD, such as myself, who have retired or they've moved away. So I had to bring in other people. So I have a fresh team that we still use the same name. And the fun thing now is we go out and we investigate with other teams. And I find that really rewarding because you learn things from them. They learn things from you. And everyone's working together. So that's probably my favorite way of doing paranormal investigations. I still do, stuff with the team as far as going to special, I call them house calls. We don't do a lot of house calls because that's not my favorite because I like to do historic places. And we'll go to a lot of historic locations as a group and as a team. And then I have another little pod, which is several smaller teams, and we all come together and we've traveled a lot of places. In fact, they came along with when I did the Route 66 book. I had a little group of, I think we were like 3 different teams that went together and we did all the locations along the Arizona Route 66. That was a blast. And that one was done during the pandemic. And that was kind of interesting because we'd go out on a weekend, come back, and after a couple of weeks, we'd wait around, make sure nobody was sick. And then we'd go out again for another weekend. We did that like 4 different sessions. And it actually taught us that we were going to be able to travel again. Remember how it was during pandemic? Everyone was like, oh, we're going to be stuck in our houses for the rest of our lives. We're never going to see, the sun again or be able to go on a trip. And this showed us that we were still going to be able to do road trips. But we went to every single location along Route 66. We did some impromptu investigations at some of the locations along the way, met a lot of interesting people. And it was really, really unique how we got that book done during the time when people didn't think anything could get done.
Now, you've written several books. I'm going to put them on the screen here. So you're talking about Arizona's Haunted Route 66, but you
Yes, that was last year's book. And the one that just came out, I think I sent you a picture, and that one is the Haunted Globe. That one, I just got my copies of the book yesterday. So nice. I'll be able to get them out there and sell them very, very soon. My big box should be coming any minute.
That's so cool. So you've really gone around Arizona and also a lot of other places in the West. You got Ghost of Houston, Grand Canyon Ghosts, the Haunted Phoenix, and then of course your new book, Haunted Globe, and that's something else we'll talk about later. But yeah, you've put together all these books, and they have photos and stories. Can you give us a sneak peek at the Haunted Globe book, maybe?
Oh, the Haunted Globe book. That one was an interesting one to do too, because I've been going up to Globe for probably the last 20 years, doing investigations here and there. And I've got involved, knowing the historians up there. And they would start telling me all these crazy stories. And every time I would hear something that would happen weird back in the day, I'd let them know. And then they would hear another story. And we'd be going back and forth, back and forth. That's how I really got involved in going up into Globe on investigations, and just going with other groups as well. And so when I was asked to write the book, the first thing I did was contact all the historians and see if it was okay, because that's their town, and I live in Mesa, and I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. And they're like, oh no, we want you to do the book. So it was really fun, because I learned so much about. That's what I like when I write these books. I learned about the city, I learned about the town, I learned about the area. And everyone was really, really kind when I was, when every time I'd have a silly question about something, and they would give me answers. And it was really fun, because I would contact other paranormal teams as well and ask them, did you ever have an experience on this location or that location? And they would give me their tales. So I've added all their little tidbits of tales into the book too. So it makes it fun, because when people read the book, they see that, there are other teams that go there and they've actually gotten some, information or data to use. So I would think, the most probably popular place in Globe, of course, is the Ohio County Jail. It's been, was featured on Ghost Adventures. And I would say that is probably one of the most active places. We've come to learn that the little train depot is very busy now. You get a lot of voices in the train depot. You hear trains going by and there's no trains going by. So I think because of the rails, and then there's a dry creek bed right behind the train depot, which sometimes is full, which lately I think it has been. That brings in a lot of energies, the water and the electric from the train. So I think that's why the train depot is so busy. Of course, you've got your old hotels, you've got your old saloons and brothels. Globe is actually, in my eyes, I think was even more deadly than Tombstone. You hear all the stories about Tombstone and shootouts and everything, but Globe was just as crazy.
But it was a violent place to hang out in the Old West.
Very, very violent place, because all these little mining towns, such as Tombstone, such as Jerome, and we know people would move there, and there's when there's gold or silver or whatever in the out there grass, people begin to get greedy. So there's always someone who wants to out the other person, so they have all the gold or all the power. So that's why those little towns are so deadly and have that kind of history.
So it sounds like you've got a lot of history mixing in with your paranormal investigation.
Exactly.
You have an amateur, or maybe not even amateur, but you've become a historian of sorts for these different places?
Yeah, exactly. I like to think of myself as kind of a historian in some sense, and that dwells in the paranormal, and vice versa. A paranormal investigator that dwells in dabbles in the history, because like I keep saying, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
You gotta have the history to know what's going on with the ghosts. So, but it was interesting, because like I said, Globe was crazy. There were people getting blown up. There were people getting pushed in the batter at the bakery. I mean, it was just totally bizarre. People, always getting killed on the railroad tracks. And one of the most haunted locations also in Globe is the old cemetery, the Globe City Cemetery. And I myself and other friends have seen on a certain hill. When I take people over, I go, this is the hill. Just wait here, you'll see something. I have seen like shadows going up a hill, or they seen people walk up the hill. A man with a top hat has been seen. And I know one day I was there with a couple ladies, and we left the recorders on the back of the truck, and we went walking around. We came back and played it back, and there was in the old early 1900s, English type, language, tone of voice. There was a man that came on and said, "Fine witches, I see." And I'm like, oh, they were watching us the whole time. So yeah, Globe is pretty crazy. It's a good place to find spirits. It's just like Jerome. Jerome has the same thing, same as Bisbee. You have that, people trying to get ahead, and it was just a crazy life back in the early 1900s.
Yeah, there's a lot of mining towns in Arizona that have really calmed
Yes.
in, Globe, and then we're actually doing an investigation on Saturday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in Miami. Miami's quite busy too.
Yeah.
I was finding a lot of stories about that too. The YMCA, and you have the Bullion Plaza, the old school.
Yeah.
Miami, it's just a couple miles away from Globe, and so they kind of are hand in hand as far as their stories go.
So Brian,
their lifestyles.
One of our viewers, his name's Brian. I think you met him at the meet and greet. He says he's heading to Bisbee / Tombstone in October. Where should he go for ghosts?
Oh, in Bisbee?
Yeah.
Anywhere. I mean, you can walk down the street and run into a ghost. I would go walking up the Brewery Gulch and walk farther on up the hill. Up farther up, and you'll run into spirits. I mean, you walk past them and you don't even know you're walking past them. I like to tell a story. On Halloween, I was in Bisbee and a few years ago, and we were down, we were down and partying in the Gulch, and I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna walk on up to where we were staying. The other people were staying back, and as I was walking, I went a back way, and all of a sudden I ran into 3, I would say, young teenagers, but they were from another time. They were dressed like in the 1900s, like 1910, 1912, that era. And the thing I remember most, as I was walking up to them, they didn't see me, but I was seeing them. The boy had a giant jack-o'-lantern for a mask, for whatever it was. He had a real jack-o'-lantern on his head. And I always remember that, because I thought, people don't do that. This was a big jack-o'-lantern. So I watched them, and they just walked on by like they didn't even see me. And I go, oh, you know what? That's because they were probably ghosts, because that's what happens in Bisbee. I've passed by several. Stay at the hotels. Any of the hotels, they're all haunted. So you're going to have, probably a roommate that's a spirit. Restaurants a little bit too. I mean, it's just, there's cemetery, maybe not so much, but it is interesting cemetery. Fire stations haunted.
So when you
some
go
of
out
the schools.
when you go out on an investigation, have you ever had any experiences that maybe sent a chill up your spine, or were scary, or are they all just very pleasant, very cordial, very nice experiences?
Well, I've never encountered a demon or anything like that. I've never been scratched, never been pushed, but I haven't, met up with spirits that were, maybe, I wouldn't say like unfriendly, but just, they're just normal. They're just like normal people like us. I mean, we don't provoke. We don't try to instigate anything. Well, like I said, we sit down and just have a conversation with them, like we're having a conversation here. And doing it that way, it seems you get a lot more, activity. You get a lot more voices. We don't use all the bells and whistles, games they have out there now that you can use for recording spirits. We just stick to the basics, and we get a lot.
Well, tell me about the basics. What is the basic?
When I've gone from using the old-fashioned recorders and lots of cameras. We did where we had computers set up all over the place. We've gone back to basically we just use. I usually have an EMF meter just so I can, see what the electrical things are going on in the building, because a lot of times you can just debunk it all there, because it's some of the buildings have electricity that's off the wire, and you don't have a ghost, you'd have an electrical problem. And we use our digital recorders. We don't use the ghost box or any of that, because you're picking up radios. So we just basically stick with that. We film with regular cameras. We don't film with our phones, because again, you're just picking up phone activities. We don't even use phones when we have them. We pick them up in a basket and put them away. Basically, we use like a digital recorder, digital cameras. That's about it, and we get a lot of activity.
Yeah. So Kyle was having a lot of spirit activity in his house. And we had set up a webcam, like a trail cam, and then all of the activity went dead, like it just disappeared.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about was, is it possible that camera is putting off an electromagnetic field that's scaring spirits away? Is that something that could happen? If you use the wrong, does it scare things away?
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm not, an expert on that. I just, found that we use very few pieces of equipment anymore, and we do get a lot. I mean,
and
like I said, I used to have big cases I take. Now it's in a bag. It's all in a bag.
So when you are talking with a spirit, and you said you're using recorders, are you getting something out of the recorders, like a speaker on the recorder where the spirit's talking through, or are you just hearing it with your ears?
Oh no, we're using like a regular digital recorder, and then we just have our conversation, then we play it back.
Oh, okay. So it is.
We play it back after we're done with our little conversation, and we listen to what we're saying, and we listen to what's coming through, on the recorders.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I wanted to also take a look at this picture that you sent. It's you standing outside of a castle of sorts.
That's Lep Castle, and you know about Lep Castle, right? Yeah.
No, I don't. Tell me all about it.
Oh my gosh, that's supposed to be like one of the most haunted places, and we went there. Gosh, we were on a tour. We went to England one time, we went to Scotland another time, and we went to Ireland another time. And everyone told us, "Oh, Lep Castle, you're going to go there, and it's going to be so horrific. You're not going to want to go." And that's in Ireland. And we went there, and of course, its reputation. I mean, the man who owns the castle is just so sweet, and he's just kind of, older, and he's done lots of repairs of the castle. It kind of reminded me of going to Bisbee, except in Ireland. And he had such great stories to tell about the building. And he says the only time he ever had anything happen is when he first started working on the building. He was up on a ladder, and he got pushed down on the ladder. And after that, he said, "Hey, I bought the place. I'm going to be living here. I'm fixing up, making it look nice." He's never had another problem with the spirits.
Like that once you start remodeling or messing with it, it seems like it always seems to bring out.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Said it always. Oh, go ahead.
You said that when you start to remodel, it seems like there's a lot of times that kind of
yes, because they're not sure what you're doing to their place. Sometimes they think you're going to be changing it all, willy-nilly, and they don't like it. But when you sit down with them and you tell them you have good intentions, and then they're a lot more comfortable with it then. And that happens a lot when people remodel or people move into a new place. I know. And I think that's why my house got active when my daughter and her boyfriend were there a few weeks ago. They hadn't been there before, so maybe the spirits were kind of like confused, like, who are these people now? They're not the ones that come down here normally. These are different people. because I know when we first moved at the house, we had a lot more activity as well. And then once the spirits got used to us as the ones that, were living there, the activity seemed to die down. They were comfortable with us then.
Have you ever found that, like you said, you were saying earlier, once you just kind of speak nice to them, everything seems to be okay? How often do you find it that they really don't care what you have to say?
I didn't hear the question again. I'm sorry.
No, so he said, how often do you get engaged in a conversation with a spirit and they just ignore you or they don't care what you have to say?
Oh, no. Most of the time. Most of the time. I always tell people, because, on TV, it's like so active, and, they go into a building and 10 minutes after they're having, spirits, moving things or knocking things down, or they're recording things. I always say, it's more like going on a boring fishing trip, because you can fish all night and not catch any fish. You can ghost hunt all night and not catch anything. It's very hit and miss. When they do those TV shows, they're there sometimes 3 days, 4 days, and they're going to compile it all into a 40-minute show. So, and I always used to ask the producers, well, why don't you do a show about, a nice ghost? And they're like, well, no one would watch it. They want to watch the show about the ghost. They don't want to hear about a ghost that helped the little lady across the street. They want to watch the show about the ghost who pushed her into the traffic. And so it's just a lot different from the TV shows. And I've done several over the years. And I'm always afraid to watch it when it comes on, because I told them all the the stories I know, but who knows how they're going to twist it around when they do the actual editing.
Yeah, you got that right.
My actual question was, have you ever said, like, activity comes and you're like, please ghost, I don't want you here. Can you go somewhere else? And they don't. And you ever had that where they just continue to stay there no matter what you say or do?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, so his question was originally, have you ever asked a ghost to depart and it stayed anyway and continued to do whatever it was doing?
Oh, ask it to leave? Did he want to know if I've asked him to leave?
Yeah.
I don't usually ask him to leave. They're okay. The only ones I've ever had removed are children, because sometimes they don't know how to leave or what they're supposed to do. So we've actually have taken a little boy in Mesa, and we've moved him on. And there was another time we were doing a investigation, kind of a house cleaning down in Mexico, and we moved another little boy on. But I figure the adults, as long as they're not causing any harm, they can stay. I mean, when I'm gone, I'll be hunting everywhere, and I don't want people to going move on. I want to stay and bother everybody. I want to have fun.
Yeah, that sounds like the thing to do, is that hang around and hunt all your friends.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hurt nobody.
Super active, and there's a shadow person that always watches us, and I've told it to leave many times, and it never does.
So Kyle said that he's had a shadow person that's been in his house, and he's asked it to leave many times, and it doesn't. It sticks around.
Yeah. I have a shadow person down at the house in Bisbee, and I think that's just the way it takes form, but it hasn't bothered anybody down there.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well,
I mean, we have had people that we've asked them to move on, but I don't know. I haven't really had that problem with them. Generally, I haven't run into anything that's been really negative, so we haven't had to move anybody on.
So you mentioned that you've been on several TV programs for paranormal hunting. I think in the bio you sent over, you mentioned Streets of Fear, Travel Channel's Ghost Stories, and Ghost Adventures. And anybody who's done TV knows that there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that doesn't doesn't necessarily make it past the cutting room floor.
Right.
Have there been any moments from any of your investigations or maybe your television appearances where something happened and maybe the cameras weren't rolling or it wasn't TV appropriate, and so they just left it on the floor?
Well, when I was up in Jerome, that's where we filmed the episode of Ghost Stories, and it was about Sammy Dean. She's one of the spirits up there, and they were filming it in the Connor Hotel. And so when it was my turn to speak, they called me into one of the rooms, and I'm sitting, and it is really funny because I'm sitting when we're filming, I'm sitting on the edge of the bed. The cameraman is filming me from the bathroom, and then the boom mic is, kind of like in the middle of the room, because they were very small rooms, but that's what they wanted, the ambiance of the hotel. And so they're getting ready to film me, and the girl with the boom mic goes like, "Oh, my boom just, the battery just went dead." The cameraman in the bathroom goes like, "So did mine." Like, I just put fresh batteries in here. And I started laughing, and I go, "Well, you guys did pick the most haunted room in the Connor to be filming." And they looked at me like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Well, you're a ghost crew, a film crew." And they're like, "We just film." We didn't know. We're not even staying here. We're staying in Cottonwood. And I'm like, "Oh, well, by the way, there is a man in a little bowler hat that haunts this room. He's been seen in here." So anyway, after they were done filming my little segment, they moved on to a different room. They weren't staying in that room anymore because it was messing up their equipment.
Oh, that's wild. Is that something that happens a lot on your investigations, where batteries will just suddenly drop dead?
Oh yeah, big time. That's probably our biggest complaint. You can ask any paranormal investigator that. You're right in the middle, you're taking pictures or you're recording, and all of a sudden you look at your, especially if you're using a recorder, and it's like, I just changed the batteries, before we started, and now, they're down to like, 5%, and right in the middle of everything, you got to stop and, change the batteries out. It's crazy when it does that.
Oh man, it looks like Kyle's probably in the middle of the storm. He might have just had to drop out.
Yeah, in and out. Yeah.
Okay, so in addition to the TV appearances, it looks like you've got this event.
Yeah, we got this event going on. We did it once, probably about was it in July, I think it was. Yeah, it was July. And we're gonna do it again in November. Down at the Greenway House, that's where Gretchen Bonaducci owns that B&B. You remember Danny Bonaducci, right? Danny Partridge? Yeah. This is his ex-wife. She's moved to Bisbee, loves it there. And she bought a really beautiful B&B. And the three of us, that's me and my friend Fran Powers, who is a Bisbee native. And of course, good old Marshall Shore, who is kind of another historian. We got invited to go down, and we do a real seance. And we did it last time. We had people crying, and people were coming through, during the seance. And so it was so popular, they asked us to come back. So we're going to go back at the end of November and do it another time. And they make a lovely dinner for everybody. I think we had about 18 people there all together. They made a lovely dinner. We did a little bit of talking about what we do and talk about our books and things, a little bit of history about the Greenway Manor and the Greenway family. And we actually had people that were their ancestors that were there at the seance this last time. And it was really kind of nice to have people that actually had, lived in the house or visited at the house, in its early days there. So yeah, we're going to go back down there and try it again, see what spirits we can bring in. And we have, people in their family, come through, and they would ask questions, and we were doing some table tipping, glass moving, and we did the pendulums, and we had candles. It was really kind of cool. And it wasn't one of those hokey jokey, seances with fake, table tapping and that. It was the real deal what we were doing.
So it looks like it's going to be Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, Thanksgiving weekend, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And I don't know if she's got a link to the site to get the tickets yet or not. But
Okay.
if not, you can always just go on to, Greenway Matter and pick it up that way. Because she just put the flyer up during this next week. So it should be coming up real soon where you can buy tickets.
So tell me about how a seance is conducted. I'll confess that I have very little experience with paranormal investigations.
Yeah. The way we did it, we just got everybody into the room. We all made them, kind of, meditate for just a few moments. I rang a bell to kind of like, open up the seance. My one friend, Fran, came on with her pendulum and just started asking questions if there were spirits there here in the building and such like that. Then it kind of got quiet again. So then I had a friend bring a glass, because I learned this from, you remember Richard Felix from Most Haunted, the English show back in the day?
Sure.
And he's who I ghost hunted with in Scotland and England and Ireland. And he taught us this technique where you take a glass, you put it on a table, and you put, fingers on top of it, kind of like you would do a Ouija board type thing. And you can ask yes and no questions, and the glass will pick up the energy and it will start answering all the questions. And you can feel the energy from different people. Some people, it'll just go really, really fast across the table. It just goes really, really slow. And what we did, we started asking some of the people that were there if they had someone they wanted to speak to, and we put them on with us with the glass, and they were getting answers. And they were getting answers to questions that only they knew, because we didn't know any of these people. And we just kind of did that for a while till the energy started dying down again. And I'm going to try another technique this next time around with colored candles. And that kind of brings in peace, brings in energy, and all kinds of different things I didn't know about with lighted candles. We're going to try that around. So we're always trying something new when we do this. And at the end, then there, like I said, there were tears. People were hearing messages from their loved ones. And then at the end of the night, it was just like, it was like kind of drained, but it was really fun. It was really interesting. And so I guess it was so popular that she asked us to come back and do it another time.
Well, that's so cool. What is the pendulum meant to do during the seance?
The pendulum is kind of like the glass thing, it's like it dangles from a chain, and you can ask at the yes and no questions.
And I remember as a kid that we did something with the pendulum, and it would swing back and forth for a yes, and then it would do circles or something like that.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly, same thing. Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. And so the seances, these are very special occasions. It sounds like you do them on like once a year, or is it something you do more often?
We just kind of started doing it. We thought this would be kind of a cool thing to do, because we're all very powerful. Everyone's powerful. And that's why when we get the loved ones onto the table with us and we start asking questions, it's like they're putting their energy into it too. Excuse me. And so like we just are very spiritual people, and we thought, we'll just give this a shot and see how this works. And it's working out really, really good. It's something we wouldn't do like on a monthly basis, or like I said, we did it in July. Now we're going to do it again in November, and we probably won't do it again until next spring sometime. But because it does take a lot of energy out of us as well, because we're putting all our energy in. And it's kind of at the end when we know everybody was winding down, then I rang the bell again to kind of close out the the doors to the other side.
So it's kind of like a ceremonial thing, or
yes, definitely.
Does the reverberation have some kind of physical effect? I don't know.
Right.
Well, that's
exactly.
so cool.
You got it.
I'm really looking forward to to being a bigger part of, or having this be a bigger part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
A psychic on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and
Right.
it blew me away because he started talking about my brother who died.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm like stone cold when it comes to spirituality, like
Right.
everything's very materialistic, and not by choice.
Yeah.
I've been kind of a religious guy and prayed a lot, and just kind of never have had any of those types of spiritual experiences.
Right. I kind of, it's like I was raised Catholic. My friend Fran, who helps with the seance, she's still very, very, strict Catholic. And so we kind of use, that as our guidance, because we do believe in God, to make sure we're bringing in just only spirits of the good light, that type of thing. We didn't have any bad spirits come through at all for us that night, because we were doing it in a very peaceful
Yeah, well, that's a relief.
Yeah. If it would have started getting nasty, we would have just ended it right there. But we kind of knew what we were doing and how we wanted to do it and who we wanted to bring in. So, we've been around the block a few times, so we kind of knew what we were doing. We just didn't want anybody to think that it was going to be one of those hokey pokey seance, you see where there's tapping going on under the table and that type of thing, and winds coming in to blow out candles. We made it really known that this was not going to be a fake seance. It was going to be either real or it was going to be nothing at all. If people were going to come through, fine. If not, that was fine too. It was going to be fun trying.
So it sounds like you don't really lean into like theatricality like they did in the old days. Right.
No. We talk about that's how it originally kind of was. I mean, because a lot of these, women whose sons were killed in the Civil War or World War I, they wanted to talk to their sons or their husbands or whatever one more time. So they would get these hokey pokey seances going and give these women false hope, and we didn't want it to be like that. We wanted it to be real or nothing at all, but we figured it would be fun trying it. And if nothing happened while we were doing it, everyone had fun trying. But then when things started coming through and we had people crying, we thought, okay, we really did this. And then we had to make sure we closed it all out at the end.
Yeah. That's a nice way to go. It's just
right,
because like you said before, it takes a lot of energy.
It does.
It makes you really tired, and you can't be in that same state all the time.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to pay the bills. You can't just be in a state of spiritual ecstasy all the time. You got to.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like I said, when we do communicate with spirits, we sit and talk to them, like on a one-on-one basis. We don't, try to have them come in and come into my house and I want you to, raise this table. We just have a conversation and hopefully they join in with us.
What do they like to talk about?
Just anything. I mean, like I said, when we had the little girl there, we started talking about, because we know I've seen the ghost cat at my house. So we started talking about the cat. We were asking, is this your little kitty we see here? Do you? And then one of the other girls goes, I really like cats. I have 2 cats at home. And then another girl goes, yeah, they're good, for keeping the mice away. And that's when the little girl, you could hear her whispering, going, mice, mouse. So they were just, they just joined in the conversation, whatever you're talking about,
So one of the things that the psychic we spoke to mentioned is that one of the first things that he gets from a spirit is how they died. Does that ever come across? Do they like to tell you how they left the life?
A lot of them don't know they have.
Really?
You can't really say, how did you die, when sometimes they don't even know that they did die. They think that they're still there. Yeah. we've asked that, but we don't even ask them how old they are or do you know what year it is. We just have a conversation. We went to a event with Brian Kano and it was like a way to communicate and how to do a paranormal investigation properly. So it was really really kind of cool. And and you had to kind of participate by watching these little videos they made. And that's what they say too. We just have a conversation with the spirits. We don't sit there. Dustin Perry was the other one with him. Dustin Perry and Brian Kano, from Ghost Hunters and Haunted Collector. And that's the way they ghost hunt too. They just have a conversation. We don't, they don't ask them, what day is it or how old you are, because sometimes they don't know that stuff. They just want to, they're just basically, we ask them, it's a sunny day today. Did you enjoy the weather? We just have in general conversation. We don't want to inquiz and too much interrogate them, put it that way.
That idea that they don't even know that they're dead,
right?
It kind of threw me for a loop. I would suppose that most people have an uneventful or a peaceful passing, right? So maybe it is the case they go to sleep and then they wake up and they're a spirit.
Yeah. And if it's a tragic death, they probably don't remember that either. I mean, it came, like boom, they were gone. So sometimes they don't even know, that they had a tragic death. They just think they're just still out and about, and the ones that, like the ones at the, the jail over at the Gila County Jail, they're just prisoners there. Some of them committed suicide and everything like that, but we don't sit there and ask you, how did you die? We said, oh, did you, what did you have for lunch today? What did they serve? We ask them basic questions, things like that. We're at a school, we'll say, oh, is this your favorite classroom? Were you late for school today? Or, did you pack a lunch? We'll just ask them basically things about what's happening in the building.
So do you find that the spirits that congregate in a certain place, it's because they are from that place? Maybe it's a house or a place they used to spend a lot of time?
Or maybe it's a place they liked. I find that a lot of the hotels are haunted, not because someone died in the room or was pushed down the staircase, but it might have been where Mr. and Mrs. Smith went on their honeymoon. That was their favorite place ever. So when they pass away, I know I'm going to go back to a favorite place. I mean, you know how it is when you travel, you like to go places you really liked or heard about, or if it was a place you went to often, you want to go back again. It's just kind of like how I finally decided to buy a house in Bisbee, because I went down there so often. I thought, well, if I had my own house, I wouldn't have to pay for a hotel room all the time. So, but it's a place I like, when I go there, I feel at home. And even though I'm not there all the time, I just feel very at home. So I think that's why some spirits go back to hotels, because they just feel very at home at certain places. Restaurants, the same thing. Although restaurants a lot of times were other venues before, sometimes they were mortuaries, or sometimes they were schools, or sometimes they were an old bar or something. So spirits come back to the old bar, even though they don't realize now it's a restaurant, because they like that bar, oh yeah, okay, well, we can hang out here with these people. Mm-hmm.
That's so neat. And if people are looking to get involved in paranormal investigations, do you recommend that they get involved with a group like yours?
Yeah, the best way I always tell people is to go to all these, such as in Globe or Jerome or Bisbee, Tombstone, where they have paranormal tours.
Mm-hmm.
And even though a lot of the tours you're going to be on is very basic, you're not going to become a paranormal investigator that day. You'll learn about the place that you're visiting, you can, a lot of times they'll loan you equipment to use while you're there, or you can bring your own, and you can see if you like it, or something you want to do. But I always, whenever I travel, I always take tours with different paranormal groups in various towns, or I always find that really, really kind of neat. We always stay at haunted hotels no matter where we travel. We always dine in haunted places, and we always go to cemeteries. But that's a good way to to kind of get your
Get your feet
I
wet.
don't know, foot wet, to see how it is. Join, like one of these tours up in Globe or someplace, and just enjoy and learn from them, and learn about the history, and see if it's something that you're really interested in doing.
Fantastic. Debbie, as we wind up, where can people find these books? Where can they find you? And
Yeah. I'm also all the time on Facebook. I'm I'm an old fashioned girl. I'm on Facebook, so if you just Google Debe Branning on Facebook, you'll find me. I answer messages. That's probably the easiest. There is the MVD Ghost Chasers website, but it's basically just kind of sitting there in limbo right now. But it is it is an active site. But that's the best way. Or you can, always go on Amazon and get all the books too. They're all in there. But if you contact me, I will, have you PayPal me or whatever, and I will sign it and send it out quick as a bunny. Awesome. And like I said, the Glow books should be coming to my house any minute. I got my little sample box just yesterday, and I'm so excited because I've already got people going like, I want my copy, I want my copy. Like, as soon as the big box gets here, I'll let you guys know. And Fantastic. I'll probably be going up the Globe as soon as the big box gets here, and I'll probably be sitting on a corner somewhere peddling books.
I love that. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody in the chat, Brian, Jedi, thank you guys so much for participating. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. If you think we've earned it, make sure that you're subscribing. And check out Debbie's Facebook page, check out a book, get all that stuff together. And until next time.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we will love to have you back again, Debbie.
We can do that.
We'll keep in touch. And until next time, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.